If you are watching this, it is likely because you are exhausted. Not just tired from a long day, but deeply drained in a way that sleep does not fix. You feel confused, as if you are walking through a fog where the rules of reality keep changing. One moment you are loved, valued, and seen. The next, you are invisible, criticized, or treated with a coldness that feels like a physical blow. You find yourself constantly checking your own behavior, wondering what you said wrong, what you did to cause this shift, and how you can fix it. You are trying so hard to be understood, to be reasonable, to be the partner who makes things work. But no matter how much you give, how much you explain, or how much you apologize, it is never enough. The goalpost always moves. If you recognize this feeling, I want you to take a deep breath right now. I want you to know that this exhaustion is not a sign of your failure. It is a sign that you have been operating in an environment designed to keep you off balance. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive, and you are not the problem. The situation you are in involves a specific type of emotional imbalance. When dealing with a narcissistic woman, the dynamic is rarely about mutual respect or shared growth. It is about control, image, and the regulation of her own internal state at your expense. Many people struggle to identify this because society often holds different expectations for women. We are conditioned to see women as nurturing, empathetic, and emotionally attuned. So, when a woman behaves in ways that are manipulative, cruel, or exploitative, it creates a profound cognitive dissonance. You doubt your own perception because her behavior contradicts the stereotype. You think, she can't be doing this on purpose. She's hurting too. While she may indeed be hurting, that pain does not excuse the mistreatment. In fact, her unresolved pain is often the engine that drives the manipulation. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward reclaiming your life. You must stop looking for the loving partner you thought she was and start seeing the patterns of the person she actually is. To deal with this correctly, we must first understand the core psychological mechanism at play, the fragile ego and the need for external validation. A narcissistic individual, regardless of gender, lacks a stable sense of self. They do not know who they are without the reflection provided by others. For a narcissistic woman, this often manifests in relationships as a need to be the center of attention, the victim, or the authority figure. She requires a constant supply of admiration, compliance, or emotional reaction to feel real. When you are in the beginning stages, this feels like intense love. This is known as idealization. She mirrors your desires, shares your interests, and makes you feel like you have found your soulmate. But this is not intimacy. It is a hook. Once you are emotionally invested, the dynamic shifts. The devaluation begins. This is not because you changed. It is because you are no longer a new source of supply. You are now a known entity, and therefore, you are expected to serve her needs without question. The first major pattern you must recognize is the use of emotional volatility as a control tactic. You may notice that her mood shifts rapidly and unpredictably. One minute she is warm and engaging, and the next she is icy, silent, or enraged. This inconsistency keeps you in a state of hypervigilance. You are always scanning her face, her tone, and her body language to gauge safety. This is a form of psychological conditioning. By keeping you anxious, she ensures that you are focused entirely on her. You stop thinking about your own needs, your own goals, or your own feelings. Your entire world shrinks down to managing her emotions. This is why you feel so exhausted. You are working a full-time job as her emotional regulator. The psychology behind this is simple. If she is chaotic, you become the stabilizer. If she is the storm, you become the shelter. But a shelter that is constantly battered eventually collapses. You are not responsible for calming her storms. You are responsible for protecting your own peace. Another critical behavior is the distortion of reality, often referred to as gaslighting. This is not always dramatic movie-style lying. Often, it is subtle. It is the denial of things she said. It is the rewriting of history to make herself look better and you look worse. If you confront her about a hurtful comment, she might say, "You're too sensitive," or, "I never said that. You're imagining things." Over time, this erodes your trust in your own memory and perception. You begin to rely on her version of events because you are afraid of being wrong. This is dangerous because it disconnects you from your intuition. Your intuition is your internal alarm system, telling you when something is unsafe or unfair. When you suppress that alarm to keep the peace, you betray yourself. The reason she does this is to maintain dominance. If she can control the narrative, she controls the relationship. She avoids accountability by making you question your sanity. Recognizing this is vital. When you feel confused after an interaction, it is usually because your reality has been tampered with. Trust that confusion. It is a signal that something is wrong, not that you are deficient. We must also address the role of victimhood. A narcissistic woman often portrays herself as the one who is misunderstood, persecuted, or unappreciated. She may share stories of how her ex-partners were abusive, how her friends betrayed her, or how the world is against her. Initially, this draws out your empathy. You want to protect her. You want to be the one who finally treats her right. But this is a trap. By positioning herself as the eternal victim, she absolves herself of any responsibility for her actions. If she hurts you, it is because you provoked her. If she cheats, it is because you were neglectful. If she screams, it is because you pushed her to the edge. In this framework, you are always the aggressor, even when you are simply setting a boundary. This reversal of roles is deeply disorienting. It makes you feel guilty for having normal human needs. You start to believe that asking for respect is selfish. You start to believe that leaving would be an act of cruelty. This is the power of the victim narrative. It weaponizes your compassion against you. So, how do you deal with this the right way? The answer lies in shifting your focus from changing her to protecting yourself. The biggest mistake people make is trying to explain themselves. You think that if you just clarify your intentions, if you just show her how much you care, she will understand. But understanding is not the issue. Control is. She does not want to understand you. She wants to use you. Therefore, explanation is futile. In fact, over-explaining gives her more ammunition. Every detail you provide can be twisted and used against you later. The right way to handle this is through calm, consistent boundaries and emotional detachment. This does not mean being cold or cruel. It means being neutral. It means refusing to engage in the drama. Detachment is a skill that takes practice. It starts with observing rather than reacting. When she tries to provoke you, instead of defending yourself, you pause. You notice the urge to fight back or to plead for understanding, and you let that urge pass. You respond with brevity and clarity. You do not justify your decisions. You do not argue about facts that she is determined to distort. You simply state your position and hold it. For example, if she accuses you of not caring, you do not list all the things you have done to show you care. You simply say, "I hear that you feel that way, but I disagree." Then you disengage. This removes the fuel from the fire. Narcissistic supply comes from emotional reaction. Whether you are crying, yelling, or begging, you are giving her attention and energy. When you become boring, when you become unreactive, you become less useful to her. This may cause her to escalate her behavior initially, a phenomenon known as an extinction burst. She may try harder to get a rise out of you. This is why consistency is key. You must remain steady like a rock in the ocean. The waves may crash, but the rock does not move. Setting boundaries is the other half of this equation. A boundary is not a request for her to change. It is a statement of what you will do if certain behaviors continue. For instance, if you speak to me with disrespect, I will end this conversation and leave the room. The crucial part is the action. If you say you will leave, you must leave. If you stay and continue to argue, you teach her that your boundaries are empty threats. Boundaries are for you, not for her. They are about preserving your dignity and your mental health. Many people fear that setting boundaries will cause the relationship to end, and it might. But consider this. If the only way to keep the relationship is to sacrifice your self-respect, then the relationship is already dead. You are merely haunting a corpse. Letting go of the fear of loss is essential. You must value your peace more than you value the illusion of connection. As you begin to implement these strategies, you will gain clarity. You will start to see the patterns clearly. You will realize that her anger is not about you. Her criticism is not about your flaws. Her silence is not a punishment you deserve. It is all about her inability to regulate her own emotions and her need to dominate the environment. This realization brings a strange sense of relief. It lifts the weight of responsibility off your shoulders. You did not cause this. You cannot fix this. You can only choose how you respond. This shift in perspective is empowering. It moves you from a position of helplessness to a position of agency. You are no longer a participant in her chaos. You are an observer of it. This process also involves grieving. You must grieve the person you thought she was. You must grieve the future you imagined. This is painful, but it is necessary. Holding on to the hope that she will change keeps you trapped in the cycle. Acceptance is not approval. Accepting that she is narcissistic does not mean you agree with her behavior. It means you accept the reality of who she is, so you can make informed decisions. Stop waiting for the apology that will never come. Stop waiting for the moment when she finally sees your worth. She cannot see your worth because she does not see anyone's worth, including her own. She sees people as objects to be used. Once you accept this truth, the sting of her rejection loses its power. You realize that her inability to love you is a reflection of her limitations, not your inadequacy. Healing begins when you redirect the energy you were spending on her back toward yourself. For months or years, you have been focused on her moods, her needs, her opinions. Now, you turn that focus inward. What do you like? What do you need? What makes you feel alive? Reconnect with your friends, your hobbies, your career. Rebuild the identity that was eroded. This takes time. You may feel shaky at first. You may feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. That guilt is a residue of the manipulation. Acknowledge it, but do not obey it. You are allowed to put yourself first. In fact, it is your duty. You cannot pour from an empty cup. By filling your own cup, you become stronger, clearer, and more resilient. As you heal, you will develop a deeper sense of self-respect. Self-respect is the antidote to narcissistic abuse. It is the quiet knowledge that you deserve to be treated with kindness and honesty. It is the refusal to tolerate behavior that diminishes you. When you operate from self-respect, you naturally repel toxic people. They sense that you are no longer an easy target. They sense that you have boundaries that are enforced. This may mean that the narcissistic woman in your life leaves, or it may mean that you choose to leave. Either outcome is a victory. The goal is not to win against her. The goal is to win back yourself. Remember that healing is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel vulnerable. There may be moments when you miss the good times, the highs of the idealization phase. This is normal. It is called trauma bonding. Your brain has been conditioned to associate pain with love. Breaking this bond takes time and patience. Be gentle with yourself. Do not judge your progress. Celebrate small victories. Did you hold a boundary today? Did you refuse to engage in an argument? Did you choose to rest instead of worrying about her? These are steps forward. Each step reinforces your new reality. Ultimately, dealing with a narcissistic woman the right way is about reclaiming your truth. It is about trusting your own experience over her distorted narrative. It is about choosing peace over drama and self-respect over approval. You are not defined by how she treated you. You are defined by how you choose to move forward. You have survived the confusion. You have survived the pain. Now, you have the opportunity to thrive. The fog is lifting. The path ahead is clear. It is a path of authenticity, of genuine connection, and of inner peace. You are worthy of a love that is safe, consistent, and reciprocal. You are worthy of a life where you do not have to walk on eggshells. Believe in that possibility. Work toward it, one day at a time. You are stronger than you know, and you are not alone. Keep going. Your freedom is waiting on the other side of this realization. Stay grounded, stay clear, and keep choosing yourself.